Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all having a good sort of Christmas time. That time off between Christmas and New Year's is a bit of like a downtime, so you can pretty much do whatever you want. This probably should go out on New Year's Eve, so if you are celebrating, I hope you're all having a great and safe time. But today's video is going to be a bit of a different one. Recorded before the derby versus Sporting versus Benfica, so I could either be very happy, in which case yay, or very sad, in which case, you know, meh. Jenny. But, you know, maybe Sporting will win. I'm sure you guys know the result. I'll edit into this video as well. But yeah, so that is today. But I'm not going to be talking about Sporting. I'm not going to be talking about Benfica. I'm going to be talking about Ruben Amorim and Marcus Rashford. So, of course, Amorim has been a United coach for now maybe 2 months, just under 2 months. And he's already had his first big controversy with a player, which is Marcus Rashford. And, you know, I hate to toot my own horn, but if we pass it back to past Sam, I will show you my prediction did come true. Number 3, again, a controversial one. I'm going with Marcus Rashford. And again, it's sort of a hear me out / let me land one, because I think Marcus Rashford is someone who is loved by Man United fans. And the guy seems like a very nice guy in terms of what he's done, you know, for children and for people like that. He just seems like a nice guy in general. But in terms of ability on the football pitch, he's 27. I think it's time to stop talking about Rashford like he's an up-and-coming prospect now. And I think he's still given that benefit of the doubt from a lot of Manchester United fans and pundits. He's 27. I don't know if he fits in Amorim's Amorim's system as a winger or a striker. Maybe more as a striker. I did see Gary Neville say, can he get Rashford to 25 goals? That's not an Amorim job. That's not what Amorim has done. You know, you've got guys like Gyökeres, who he's done it with, but he didn't do it with guys like Paulinho, guys like Thiago Tomas, guys like Slimani. That's not really Amorim's A game, so to speak. And I think Rashford doesn't have the ability anymore. Thanks, past me. Yeah, I was correct. And to be fair, I didn't expect it to go exactly how it's gone so far. I didn't expect it to be that quickly. I thought maybe it would be at the end of the season. But Marcus Rashford has been on the outs through Ruben Amorim. It's saying that if you're a Sporting fan or if you had a history with Ruben Amorim, you'd sort of see why and see how this would happen. But in today's video, we're going to explore what the solution is for Marcus Rashford and using personal points back in the day from his Sporting time and see what will happen with Rashford in the future. If you do like this style of content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So first of all, we're going to have a look at a past example, something very similar to Marcus Rashford actually. Let me introduce you first off to character number 1, and that is Islam Slimani. Now, if you watched my full rebuild timeline of Ruben Amorim's time at Sporting, if you haven't, please check out the link in the description. It gives a full backstory on how Amorim became a coach when he first retired to now his time at Manchester United. So please give that a watch because you'll see everything in there. But if you haven't seen it, Islam Slimani was a player that was brought in by Ruben Amorim to compete with Paulinho, who was the club record signing at the time, who unfortunately didn't hit the ground running at that time in January 2022. But Slimani's move was seen as a positive for 2 reasons. One, getting that actual striker in to compete with Paulinho is something that we've been waiting for a long time. Thiago Tomas and Sporar were there, but they weren't really ready for the level that Ruben Amorim wanted for his team. So they were loaned out respectively. And number 2 is that Islam Slimani was a fan favourite, much like Marcus Rashford. Of course, the scenarios are a bit different, but in terms of being beloved by all the fans and being a fan favourite, scoring a lot of goals when he first came to the club, sort of similar to Marcus Rashford. I know they're not similar age, and I know Rashford was from Carrington, but what the actual story is, they were both fan favourites and loved by the fans. Now, a lot of you might know Islam Slimani from time at Leicester and Newcastle, even Lyon and Monaco or Fenerbahce, but actually he first got his big move at Sporting and he was on fire for the Leoish. In his first 3 seasons for the club, Islam Slimani played 82 games and scored 48 goals. And he was that much of a prolific goal scorer, he actually earned that move to Leicester. But the move didn't really work out. In 36 games, he had 8 goals and was loaned out to Newcastle, Fenerbahce and Monaco, all in consecutive seasons. He was then sold to Lyon, where unfortunately, again, the goal-scoring form did not return, only scoring 4 in 30. And that is where Ruben Amorim saw Slimani. He saw a cheap deal, someone who hadn't scored in, you know, a lot in the previous clubs he's been at, but definitely someone who was used to the environment of Portuguese football and also did sort of suit Amorim's system. Amorim does like to use crosses, and he did a lot that season as well. So it would have helped him having, you know, Pablo Sarabia on the side, Pedro Gonçalves, being facilitators for that Slimani attacking prowess. So he was brought in. And actually, at the start of his new tenure with Sporting, Slimani hit the ground running. In his first 6 games for Sporting, Slimani had scored 4 goals and got 1 assist, so he was actually doing really well. But instead of actually starting Slimani as the lone striker, he actually started him alongside Paulinho, playing Paulinho out on more of a wing position in the games against Maritimo, Aroca and Moreirense. This did not sit well with Slimani, who wanted to be the main striker and didn't think that Paulinho was doing enough to stay in the team. But coming off in the 54th minute against Vitória Guimarães and coming on as a sub versus Paços de Ferreira, Slimani felt he deserved to start. And Slimani was informed in the next game against Tondela that he would not be starting and that again he would be coming off the bench. This did not sit well with Islam Slimani, who refused to train that day and was expelled from training and from the first team squad. Islam Slimani did go on Instagram and say that he was actually tired because it was during Ramadan and Islam Slimani is a devout Muslim. So he was saying he wasn't training hard enough because, he doesn't have the nutrients, the food and the drink to sort of continue to train at his best level. But Ruben Amorim didn't see it that way and he was dropped for the game against Tondela. He did make one more return appearance against Benfica, coming off the bench in a 2-0 loss, only getting 30 minutes, but that was the last game Islam Slimani would play for Sporting. He did not play the remaining 5 games, and in the summer was released from his contract, allowing him to sign elsewhere. So why am I drawing comparisons to this Islam Slimani and Marcus Rashford situation? I mentioned, of course, they're fan favourites, but Islam Slimani was someone who was so respected by Sporting fans, considering what he did for the club, and it did seem like he really loved the club. Even when he left, he was still, friendly to the club in pre-season friendlies and stuff like that. He was always talking good about the club. So what Ruben Amorim had to do, take out someone who is a club legend, take him out of the squad and, put his foot down. It's something that wasn't easy for Ruben Amorim. And he has the similar problem at Manchester United. Now, of course, Marcus Rashford doesn't need any introduction like Slimani did. Marcus Rashford is a phenomenal player. He burst on the scene at such a young age. And I think sometimes that's an issue with English players, that they burst on and they peak too early. And then the rest of their career doesn't match up the sort of the heights that he first started at. But I still think Marcus Rashford is a very good system player. I still think he could start on a good team. But unfortunately, that isn't going to be at Manchester United. So what are the reasons that Ruben Amorim doesn't really rate Marcus Rashford that much? Because he actually did start him on his first game. He scored in the first game under Ruben Amorim. I think a lot of it is to do with, the flying out and the parties. We've seen it a few times in, Daily Mail articles. And people do say, their footballers have got to live life. Of course they do, 100%. But there has been a sort of an upward turn of Marcus Rashford going out. There was a story in the papers that he was, out drinking till late in the night when they had like a Europa League game or something. I'll try and find the article and put it in the video so you can see what I'm talking about, what I'm referencing. But it seems to be that maybe there is an attitude problem for Marcus Rashford. Obviously, the thing is with footballers, you don't know about their mental health and stuff like that. We don't know what's going on in his personal life. That could be something there as well. But from what Ruben Amorim is seeing in terms of footballing standpoint, it isn't there. And I mentioned it in my first ever video I made about Ruben Amorim. If you're not going to try hard in training, then you're not going to get in the team. It's sort of like the Kobe Bryant mentality if you're a fan of basketball, which I mean is basically you treat practice like real games. To get better, to be at the top of your game, you have to be the top of your training to be the top of your game. So that's what Ruben Amorim's philosophy has been. And it's not just Islam Slimani, it's happened too. He's taken Ristovski out of training. He's taken Jeremy Matiu out of training. And if you don't fit his philosophy, then you're not going to be a part of the team. And I think what Manchester United has needed for a while, as Ralph Rangnick saying, is open heart surgery, which basically just to get rid of the squad players that aren't performing and the players that aren't training well. And I think one of them is Marcus Rashford. But if we look at how Ruben Amorim did it previously when he first came into Sporting, here's the list of all the players he got rid of and told that they weren't going to play again under him. So we've got Renan Ribeiro, Thiago Ilori, Valentin Rossier, Stevan Ristovski, Rodrigo Battaglia, Idrissa Doumbia, Eduardo Enrique, Miguel Luiz, Mateus Oliveira, Francisco Giraldes, Yannick Bolasie, Jesse Rodriguez, Diaby, Camacho, Luis Felipe. So yeah, that's a lot of players he got rid of at the start of the season, and it could be for a number of reasons. Maybe they earned too much, maybe they weren't trying enough in training. There's a whole mixture of combination things there, but to be that ruthless, and I think you have to be in a situation like Manchester United are at the moment, I think Marcus Rashford needs to look at himself and think, what's next for me? And people do ask the question, is there a way back for Marcus Rashford? And Amorim says yes, so who am I to argue? But in my personal opinion, I don't think there is, especially coming to the January window in a few days. I do feel that Marcus Rashford could make an opportune move at this time. He did say in an interview that he was ready for the next step, which I also don't think helped his case with Ruben Amorim at all. Maybe he doesn't want to play under Ruben Amorim. Maybe he wants to leave Manchester United, which is, fair enough. He has his free will. He can do what he likes. But if you were trying to get in Ruben Amorim's good books is not the way to do it, going out to interviews like Slimani did at the time as well, going out to Instagram saying that because it was during Ramadan. Also on Twitter later on, he said that Amorim didn't want to get rid of his favourite player. So, maybe it's just the case that Marcus Rashford wants to leave. But for me personally, I don't see how there's a way back from him at this point. So what do I think Ruben Amorim is going to do with Marcus Rashford? For me personally, I think he sells him in January or, loans him with an option to buy. I don't think he returns to the squad. And it's a shame because I thought, looking back a few years ago, you think Marcus Rashford would be a lifer at Man United, that he'd be a player that sticks from, the young age of 16, 17 when he first broke into the team all the way to his retirement. So it's a sad end, but I think when you look at Rashford, his form hasn't been there. His training apparently hasn't been there. He's been out to nightclubs and whatever it is, whatever the tabloids put out there. I think he's a genuinely nice guy as well, what he did during COVID season with feeding the kids when the government wouldn't do it. So there is a heart there, definitely. He's such a nice guy. I know a few people have spoken to him through events and things, and he's apparently one of the nicest guys they've ever met in, the footballing world and just the celebrity world in general. So he does seem like a nice guy. So if he is going through something, of course, we never know. We've seen it a few times when people have, unfortunately passed away. You don't know what people are going through. So let's hope Marcus Rashford's mental health is okay. Maybe it's just a footballing thing. Maybe he just wants to move on. That's fine as well. But yeah, I think that is going to be it for this video. I think, Marcus Rashford is going to leave Manchester United, unfortunately. Where will he go? Where do you think he'll go? Do you think he should stay? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm Islam Slimani. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time, and peace.